Are you ready for another episode? I hope so. As you can see, I'm in the middle of work, unwinding a screw, as I need to fix a mounting element here. It is inserted inside and by means of an Allen key that you saw. I tighten the element which expands and blocks inside this wooden screw. I already had two types of this element. Made by Lie-Nielsen with a rubber seal which prevents sliding of this element. This metal plate is of 0.2 mm and it's a distance, which is pulled out at the end, to provide clearance. Jump to the sawing machine and cutting the element which will be the chops. The sinking I'm making will be concealed between the connection and the leg. This was a bit tricky. Theoretically I could have done it on the bandsaw, but it would be a little unclean. The disc gives the cleanest effect. But as you see, I went a bit too far. A moment of carelessness and a mistake. Later I remade that element, carefully. I've found an identical piece of wood. So if it's to be done well, I did it once again. Some marking. On the right you can still see the allowance that I'll cut at the end. Now I'm getting to the spot where I'll fix this brass element. I need to make a sinking under this huge screw. As I say, measure twice, cut once. There is no place for a mistake here. So focus for a moment and mark precisely. Skipping to the drill and choosing the socket in which this big screw will be sunk. This must fit. Lead bore holes under quite big screws. They are some 6 mm. So it can't be done without lead holes. It must fit. Screwing in with the screw gun, as later it will only be tightened by hand. So the thread must be ready for screwing in with a screw drill, if that's the name. You see where it will be, packed underneath. Assembly number 1. It must fit. Here you see the flexible extension, which I have mentioned before. It is flexible but very resilient and it does not twist. Another thick beech element. It will be the left side of the joiner's bench. A long pilot, as here I am going to drill a teardrop hole. An oval hole. Those pilots will definitely help with leading this bit. Here we have 25 mm and you can see how neatly it is driven. Next 8 through hole of 8 to 9 mm for those large screws. I only had a problem with this hole, as there was no space for a lead. So the result wasn't very even. Now Miller again, and I'm making an inlet for the strip which you also saw at the wagon vise clamp. Here I decided to do the same. So it will excellently position the element which I'm milling now in the joiner's bench tabletop. Chambering of this exotic piece so that it could fit into this sinking. Tightly, as usual. There shouldn't be too much clearance here, it will be good. Now the joiner's bench top vertically and another sinking. It goes fast and smooth with the cut that is about 20 mm. A handful of dust and the sinking is ready. The sinking is longer. You'll see why, at the end. The rabbet is longer than the strip. It's not a coincidence but an intentional action. I put it all in and checked the fitting. It has no choice but fit. I left some allowance here to cut. Those holes were already made. So I move the spots where I drill now. Can you see 4 little holes? Now the most difficult task which I feared most in this shoulder vise clamp. The equipment came to help. You saw the setting for 8 mm over the tabletop and now the first element fixed. On the right side there is waste. Later a front element. Now a side element. They are shifted by exactly 8 mm vertically. There is a strip insert in there. Now I grasp it and move the front element by 20 mm as one element is 70 mm and the other 90 mm, so the difference is 20 mm. Everything fits and we can go on. There are practically no rip-outs allowed, as one element is behind the other one, behind which there is the waste element, so it's a simple thing. I'm making a sinking of 8 mm and later 8 mm of material is left again. I'm raising by 12 millimeters. And more milling. It's going easily and simply. Notice that at this time I use the cutter of 230 mm with the max milling scope of 90 mm. Everything is used to maximum. Moreover, the spindle can be moved upwards to 100 mm and I also used it 100%. I've managed to fit it all together. If there was one level higher, I would have a problem. I had to call Lidka. As please notice the amount of those sinkings. It's warm in the workshop. The glue dries, fixes quite quickly and this sinking is press fit and now the glue thickness causes great problems to insert it and squeeze together. Therefore we make it with several fit-ins together to maintain all the angles in each direction. It would be difficult to insert it. But we made it. Here it was actually race against time. If it was bound in the middle of the work, that'd be it. Minimal edging on the next day. Additionally, it was that I had ca. 0.5 to 1 mm of allowance. So the finger joints were longer than they should. Only to gather the allowance with a plane or a grinder. When working with a plane, I know the sides will be flat. A 90° angle will be retained. With a grinder everything could be curved. Now fitting everything together. You see? First I knock and join this short element. Then the entire chops are put onto the joiner's bench and then I insert on this long slot. This is just an attempt to check if everything is okay. At the end I have an allowance on this left element. So I must cut it to the size. This is the cut. The last one. I left it to the end. You can still dismantle it and cut away. Now 12 by 165 screws on the side. All tightened and I think it fits. I'll tell you that screwing together these large screws is stressful a little. At this length they are able to bend a little. So we don't know whether to tighten or if it breaks. But no mercy. And it must be maximally tightened. Now I'm fitting the clamp carefully. Tighten everything together. One tightening must be done from the top, the other from the bottom. I'd better end with playing here. I'm just kidding, that's it. Another clamp, so the shoulder vise is ready.
Czyli ten shoulder vise jest skończony. Jeszcze jedna rzecz.
One more thing to come.
Pod spodem
The crossbar of the legs, which will be made just under the tabletop, helps with guiding this clamp.
Ona również wspomaga prowadzenie tego docisku.
The clamp will resist. It will drive in a tunnel between this element and the leg.
Pomiędzy tutaj tym elementem
This will additionally help.
tą nogą. Więc to jeszcze
Now I am able to turn this element as the clamp is not fully supported at the base.
Jestem w stanie obrócić ten element, nie? Obrócić, ponieważ docisk nie do końca jeszcze opiera się tam na spodzie.
It came out perfect.
Ale wyszło idealnie.
Smile. What I feared most in this work with the clamp was the corner finger joint.
W tym zacisku bałem się tego połączenia tutaj narożnikowego na te wczepy palcowe.
It could have been done with screws.
To zrobię, można było to zrobić równie dobrze na wkręty.
Large, heavy, to bind it together.
Spiąć to wszystko razem, ale
But when Jarek digs his heels in something, he does it his way.
że zrobi to po swojemu. I
And
udało
here it
się.
is.
Tu jest
I'm
ten
proud as it came out
wyszło
great.
naprawdę rewelacyjnie. I ja
I can't
już się
wait
nie
for the
mogę
next
czekać do
stage,
kolejnego etapu, czyli właśnie
or
budowy
the construction of the legs to set it standing.
postawić na ziemi.
I also had a big problem with finding a screw of this length.
Z dostaniem tego wkręta o tej długości.
It
Nie było
wasn't
to
easy.
proste. Jest
There is
jedna
one
firma,
company, if you ask, I'll answer with the name of the company that still makes those screws.
Jaka firma robi do tej pory te wkręty, a ja ściągnąłem
I had brought 5 last screws from the other end of the country from a company that doesn't manufacture them anymore.
innej, która zakończyła produkcję tych wkrętów. No. Tutaj to ramię,
With
które
this arm,
powstało, siła
The pressure
dociskania
force will
będzie
try to
próbowała
tear it
to
apart.
zrywać. Ten
This
wkręt
screw will need to be
co
tightened
jakiś
now and
czas
then.
trzeba będzie dociągnąć, a w razie
And
czego,
in case the socket is
gdyby się
worked out
okazało,
from the
że
thread,
nagle, nie wiem, może poluźni się na przykład gniazdo, wyrobi się po prostu
it will be
od tego
possible to dismantle it and do like in the film
będzie
on
można
Omia.
to rozebrać, bo widzieliście, no już gdzieś się dziabnąłem, bo widzieliście, że
I showed it in that film how it is made.
i będzie można zrobić tak jak w filmie o Ulmi. Przy tamtej studnicy pokazywałem właśnie, jak to jest zrobione. Będzie można spokojnie to przerobić.
Here when you saw the
Tutaj
very
również,
moment of
jak
assembly,
widzieliście, sam moment składania tego całego ramienia, również wymyśliłem tak,
I made it in the way that it
żeby
could be
ciekawie,
disassembled.
żeby można było to rozbierać. Tutaj są te dwa
Here are
kołki,
those
nie?
two big
Dwa kołki
pins,
duże tu, dwa kołki
here and
duże
here.
tu. Czyli całość
So it all
musi
must
być
be inserted onto the
zsunięta.
pins.
Kołki są jak gdyby tutaj, według mnie,
I think the
one
pins
dają
give the
najmniejszy
smallest
luz.
clearance.
Czyli dlatego zrobiłem
That's
tutaj
why I
na
use them
kołkach,
rather than
na
lamellas.
elementach, nie? Wsuwamy
We
to
insert
razem,
it together,
no ale pamiętajcie, że tutaj z boku
remembering that on the side there is
jest
this
ta
big strip.
wielka listewka, nie? Więc dlatego tak zrobiłem, że w listewce jest luz, wszystko jest jakby
There is clearance in the
Trzeba
strip,
nabić
everything must be stuck on the strip.
na tą listewkę, ale
But it has
mamy
30
luz tutaj na
mm
listewce
clearance.
30 mm. Dokładnie tyle.
So exactly as the
kołek.
pin sticks out.
Nabijamy to, a później
We spear it and then insert all of it on those
nabijamy na te
pins.
kołki również. I się udało.
It came out as
Tak
it
wyszło,
should.
jak powinno być. Dobra,
Not to
nie
prolong it.
przedłużam. Jeśli
If
macie
you have any
jakieś pytania,
questions,
to
I'll
postaram
try to
się
answer.
odpowiedzieć.
Of
Oczywiście
course, to the
o
specific
tym temacie,
subject.
który jest poruszany.
Thank
Dziękuję.
you.
To jest
This is
wasza
your
aktywność,
action.
moja aktywność
My
jest
action
tutaj
is working here and
przy
discussing
pracy,
this very
przy
interesting subject.
omawianiu tego. Myślę,
I
że
also
bardzo,
count on
bardzo,
your
bardzo
action.
ciekawego tematu.
That
A
is
waszą
thumbs up.
aktywność liczę na wasze
Share our
łapki,
channel with
czyli
your
na łapki w
friends.
górę. Polecajcie
Many
ten
people in
film,
Poland are not
polecajcie
aware of
kanał
us, and thanks to you, they may find out.
znajomym. Myślę, że
That's
jeszcze
all for
wiele osób
today.
w Polsce nie wie o naszym istnieniu, a dzięki wam może się dowiedzieć.
Thank you and see you
Do
soon.
zobaczenia już wkrótce. Cześć.